Hey, I got a confession. Been losing all momentum. Just because it's easy, well, that don't make it better. I wanna dig my hands deep down in the dirt. Take a walk along the street if I'm feeling dessert. All of this convenience just doesn't work for me. I wanna play with fire, let me get hurt. Can we take it back to 95? Before we had this drama in our lives, just staring at the screen every day and night. I miss the rush of living in real life. Go get your DeLorean. Makes me sound ancient, but sons and daughters, that shit was amazing. Can we take it back to 95? Before we had this drama in our lives, just staring at the screen every day and night. I miss the rush of living in real life. Go get your DeLorean. Yo, what you got in that bag? Candy, cigarettes, and a Playboy mag? Man, you used to have to work for that. Wait for me, gotta dial up. Can't call my landline cause it's all tied up. Just bike over then. Oh, oh, oh.
Look at me, take a picture, it'll last longer. The mirror on the wall say I'm getting stronger. Ayo, the mirror don't lie. Ayo, the mirror don't lie. Look at me, take a picture, it'll last longer. The mirror on the wall say I'm getting stronger. Ayo, the mirror don't lie. If you want the truth, don't close your eyes. We got our back against the wall, we gotta fight back. I need a theme song, this the right track. I ain't got no cape or no superpowers, just confidence and self-esteem, the world is ours. I believed in me when nobody didn't. This ain't no freestyle, just some facts that's written. Come on, let's hear it for the boy. He bringing pain at the same time joy. I bob and weave through the crowd, so untouchable. At first they hate, then they loving you. It's a crazy cycle, but I'm going through it. I wish I was lying, that's why I show and prove it. I'm destined to be one of the best to do it. I ain't saying I'm the GOAT, but I'm closer to it. I should get a statue in the front yard. Man, I'm shooting up my stats like a shooting guard. Look at me, take a picture, it'll last longer. The mirror on the wall say I'm getting stronger. Ayo, the mirror don't lie. Ayo, the mirror don't lie. Look at me, take a picture, it'll last longer. The mirror on the wall say I'm getting stronger. Ayo, the mirror don't lie. If you want the truth, don't close your eyes. I'll give it to you in 3D or even play-by-play. I'm your guest announcer, are you here today? Yo, let me get a show of hands if you rockin' with me. Ain't no stopping us now, we bout to bounce quickly. I'm about to start a movement, put your fist up. Everything all black from the wrist up, yeah. Leather gloves, no prints, what? We about to dip, deep cut, yeah. Now bring it back like a boomerang. Who that man, do that thing, coming through like Buddha Bang. Setting booby traps for girls and goofy cats. Hog-tied and handcuffed through in the back. Zip-locked and sealed up and tossed away. I don't know about your future, but it's bad today. I'm a prophet and a guru and the rap police. You in the belly of the beats, masterpiece. Look at me, take a picture, it'll last longer. The mirror on the wall say I'm getting stronger. Ayo, the mirror don't lie. Ayo, the mirror don't lie. Look at me, take a picture, it'll last longer. The mirror on the wall say I'm getting stronger. Ayo, the mirror don't lie. If you want the truth, don't close your eyes.
I feel like I'm afraid to say how I feel, to know I let you down. Cause late nights turn to days, don't wanna let you down. With each breath we give away, it'll never be the same. I'm chasing somebody who won't ever ease the pain, but I don't want half of your heart, heart, heart. You can have it back if it's only half of your heart. If it's only half of your heart. I feel like I'm afraid of the only things I can't change. I live life on a page that was written too long ago. I don't want half of your heart, heart, heart. You can have it back if it's only half of your heart. If it's only half of your If it's only half of your heart. If it's only half, but I don't want half of your heart, heart, heart. You can have it back if it's only half of your heart.
Today is gonna be a little something more. I've got a plan in mind, a special thing in store. The light bulb inside my head says, get out and play. Cause you never feel this way. It's my lucky day. It's my lucky day. It's my lucky day. My lucky day. Don't need a pot of gold, a rabbit's foot or to be told. It's my lucky day. It's my lucky day. Slept in cause I don't care and didn't make the bed. Sip coffee on my couch, what can I do instead? No work, it's only fun cause it's all okay. Cause you never feel this way. It's my lucky day. It's my lucky day. It's my lucky day. My lucky day. Don't need a pot
Hey, I got a confession. Been losing all momentum. Just because it's easy, but that don't make it better. I wanna dig my hands deep down in the dirt. Take a walk along the street if I'm feeling dessert. All of this convenience just doesn't work for me. I wanna play with fire, let me get hurt. Can we take it back to 95? Before we had this drama in our lives, just staring at the screen every day and night. I miss the rush of living in real life. Go get your DeLorean. Oh, I miss the summers with you and never swipe left to right. Ah, snuck in your window, no friend request, no, just spent the night. I had to walk right up to your locker and risk you saying, boy, just don't bother. I know this all just makes me sound ancient, but sons and daughters, that shit was amazing. Can we take it back to 95? Before we had this drama in our lives, just staring at the screen every day and night. I miss the rush of living in real life. Go get your DeLorean. Go get your DeLorean. Yo, what you got in that bag? Candy, cigarettes, and a Playboy mag? Many used to have to work for that. Wait for me, gotta dial up. Can't call my landline cause it's all tied up. Just bike over then. Oh, oh, oh. Can we take it back to 95? Before we had this drama in our lives, just staring at the screen every day and night. I miss the rush of living in real life.
Look at me, take a picture, it'll last longer. The mirror on the wall say I'm getting stronger. Ayo, the mirror don't lie. Ayo, the mirror don't lie. Look at me, take a picture, it'll last longer. The mirror on the wall say I'm getting stronger. Ayo, the mirror don't lie. If you want the truth, don't close your eyes. We got our back against the wall, we gotta fight back. I need a theme song, this the right track. I ain't got no cape or no superpowers, just confidence and self-esteem, the world is ours. I believed in me when nobody didn't. This ain't no freestyle, just some facts that's written. Come on, let's hear it for the boy. He bringing pain at the same time, joy. I bob and weave through the crowd, so untouchable. At first they hate, then they loving you. It's a crazy cycle, but I'm going through it. I wish I was lying, that's why I show and prove it. I'm destined to be one of the best to do it. I ain't saying I'm the GOAT, but I'm closer to it. I should get a statue in the front yard. Man, I'm shooting up my stats like a shooting guard. Look at me, take a picture, it'll last longer. The mirror on the wall say I'm getting stronger. Ayo, the mirror don't lie. Ayo, the mirror don't lie. Look at me, take a picture, it'll last longer. The mirror on the wall say I'm getting stronger. Ayo, the mirror don't lie. If you want the truth, don't close your eyes. I'll give it to you in 3D or even play by play. I'm your guest announcer, are you here today? Yo, let me get a show of hands if you rockin' with me. Ain't no stopping us now, we bout to bounce quickly. I'm about to start a movement, put your fist up. Everything all black from the wrist up, yeah. leather gloves, no prints, what? We about to dip, deep cut. Yeah, now bring it back like a boomerang. Who that man? Do that thing, coming through like Buddha Bang. Setting booby traps for girls and goofy cats. Hog tied and handcuffed through in the back. Zip locked and sealed up and tossed away. I don't know about your future, but it's bad today. I'm a prophet and a guru and the rap police. You in the belly of the beats, masterpiece. Look at me, take a picture, it'll last longer. The mirror on the wall say I'm getting stronger. Ayo, the mirror don't lie. Ayo, the mirror don't lie. Look at me, take a picture, it'll last longer. The mirror on the wall say I'm getting stronger. Ayo, the mirror don't lie. If you want the truth, don't close your eyes.
I feel like I'm afraid to say how I feel, to know I let you down. These late nights turn to days, don't wanna let you down. With each breath we give away, it'll never be the same. I'm chasing somebody who won't ever ease the pain, but I don't want half of your heart. You can have it back if it's only half of your heart. If it's only half of your heart. I feel like I'm afraid.
Okay, welcome to the live stream. This is system build number 18. This is a server. So before we actually get started, before I put that over, just gonna put a little poll out there. You can answer that at any point in time during this entire live stream. And at the end, we will tally up the results. Okay, so let's go to the overhead and let's start with what parts we're gonna need and what you're gonna need to do a build like this. Hopefully everybody can hear me, by the way, and hopefully there's no issues with sound. I am using a new microphone, so hopefully it doesn't sound too bad. Okay, so what you're gonna need for this build are parts, obviously. So the parts we're gonna be using are an Intel build, which is an Intel Pro motherboard, ASRock Pro B660M Pro RS, a Thermaltake power supply, 600 watt, which is not actually 600 watts. And we have RAM, we have 32 gigs of RAM at 32 megahertz CORSAIR Vengeance memory, a crucial hard drive, 1 terabyte. Processor is a Intel Core i5-12400 12th gen processor. This is an LGA 1700 socket, and the case that we're using, which is off to my left over here, is a Thermaltake H17. It's a regular standardized case, nothing really too special, but it's more than enough than what we need. Also, what you're going to need are some tools. You're going to need a screwdriver. You are also going to need a wire cutter, some wire ties, a knife, and a small screwdriver, which I have just a small iFixit kit for that, which is actually way overkill for what you're gonna need. All right, so let's start with the motherboard, and we're gonna basically put the motherboard, CPU, RAM, and hard drive all together before we put it into the case. And to do that, I'm just going to show you everything about the motherboard. Let's open it up. You obviously get your manual with it. Inside the manual, sometimes they include this little screw. Do not throw that screw out. That is for your hard drive to screw down to the motherboard, so be sure you keep this. Put it off to the side. Actually, it came with more than one screw because it probably has more than one NVMe socket. It came with 3, so let's see what that's all about. Motherboard and CD. We're not going to use the motherboard manual and the CD, so we're just going to throw it off to the side. SATA cables. For this build, we are not going to be using these. We are using an NVMe drive, but we will keep them off to the side. This is the nut for the NVMe drive, so keep that off to the side. The dreaded I/O shield and the motherboard. So let's get the motherboard out. Sorry about all that noise. Off to the side there. All right. So this motherboard is a little different than our other boards that we've been building with the last few times. First of all, it's Intel, not AMD. And second of all, it is a little more professional. It has a little more RAM sockets. It has a little more NVMe sockets. You'll see there's one here. Well, actually, there's one here and one here. And there is one M.2 Wi-Fi adapter if you want to use that. This one does not come with Wi-Fi. You can add that on as an additional add-on later if you prefer to. Connection-wise, well, not connection-wise, I'm sorry. Let's go with the CPU first. CPU-wise, we have basically one CPU socket, your RAM sockets. Just going to identify things on the board just so you know before we put in the case. Once we put in the case, we will have a hard time seeing it. Your USB 3.0 header, USB-C header if you have one. This case does not, but if you do, you would plug it in there. SATA connections, your front panel connectors are right here. You will also have a TPM module here if you actually want to add one on. In this case, the processor already has one, so you don't have to worry about that. USB 2.0 headers right here. You have your speaker connection, your chassis fans with pump if you have a more advanced I/O, which we do, AIO, which we do not have, but if you do, they are there, as well as a, I guess it's an RGB header, but we're not going to need that. Audio is also to the left, which is all you really need for this board to operate. This obviously will not have a graphic card, so, but if you do have a graphic card, that would be the first main slot that is also reinforced with this little piece of metal to help the graphic card stay in place. But in this case, we are not doing a graphic card. It is onboard only. I/O for the actual board itself. We have a PS2 port, which is really old, USB 2.0, HDMI, display port, USB 3 or 3.1, Ethernet, and some audio. In this case, we're doing an Ubuntu Server. We're not going to have to worry about audio, so we're going to disable a few things. You will see that when we get to the BIOS. Let's get back to this for the motherboard. All right. Let's start with the CPU. We're going to put the CPU in. You will also probably need a knife to open up the boxes. If you want, you can use you can even use the edge of a screwdriver sometimes. Just be careful. And let's put in the processor. Processor comes with a heatsink and fan, so we will not need to use a custom one. Comes also with the manual. Oh, there, we don't need the manual. If you like the stickers, you can use the stickers. We do not use the stickers. The processor is on this side in a little clamshell. We're going to take the clamshell out. At this current point in time, this is very safe. Before you decide to put the processor in, you may want to orient the processor the correct direction. You'll notice that there is an arrow on this side of the board on top of the cap cover that will match the arrow that is on the processor, which is really hard to see. There we go. You'll see that there is an arrow there. That arrow indicates the same arrow that's on the board. So let's go back to the board, and we're going to put it in the same direction. To open up the lever, you just basically push down and out to the right. The processor should really only fit one way, but since it doesn't really have pins, you could scratch something. When you have this open like this is the most dangerous portion of the time, so just be very careful not to touch the socket in here. You do not want to put your hands on it. It will cause problems and bend a pin on the board. This processor, as you can tell on the back, there is no pins. This is all just pads. The pads will make contact with the board. The board will then push the pins up into the pads. So we're just going to lay this into the socket carefully, making sure that the arrow again is matching the same direction. Before you push everything down, you may want to reconfirm that. Now, once you push this down, it will probably pop off, which is fine. Keep this if you want to resell your motherboard, you can use that. If you don't want to resell your board, you really don't have to worry. But it is a good cover for also returns or RMAs or any type of like problem with the board. You should keep this for a little while, just in case you have to return a board. We keep about a few bunch, but usually we ditch after like 10 or 15 of them. We have enough. So this is closed. Now it's going to put the processor fan on with the heatsink. It's the heatsink and fan. This is the bottom. The bottom has pre-applied thermal paste, which is these three little strips here. That's plenty of thermal paste, even for a server. That's probably fine. When we do maintenance, we usually replace that with something else. But for a few years, that should be perfectly fine. Fan itself is just a regular standard Intel cooler with heatsink, and the power connection is obviously just the CPU connector here. So this is going to go down onto the motherboard. This is going to lay into the socket here with 4 pins. Those 4 pins are going to line up with the 4 pins that are on the plastic pins that are on the fan. Will go through those holes and it will align correctly. So what we're going to do is just going to make sure you put the fan the right direction. I like to try to keep the power connector more towards where it will operate onto the board, which is in the upper connector over here. It's labeled the CPU fan. So we're just going to line that up into the holes. Just leave it down. It should just gently slide in, and you should be able to push right, and then the other counter. Ooh, not getting leverage on that one. Should be able to push on the other one. It should click into place. And you just go to the opposite side. I don't know if that one went all the way in. I don't think it did. Sometimes they don't latch. If they don't latch, you gotta adjust the little turn knob until it latches in place. To check, you can always flip the motherboard over and make sure that it has protruded through the hole on the other side, which it has. This side is a little out, which I'm not liking that, so I'm just gonna give it a little extra push. There we go, it's not twisted the right way. That one went. You should hear a click noise. If you don't, then you probably have the little posts here probably turn the wrong way. What you would want to do is turn it clockwise until it clicks into place, and then push it back down until it pops into the proper socket. Now let's do RAM. I made it started without me. Yeah, well, we started at 6, so gotta be on time. All right. Anyway, CPU fan, you want to plug in actually the CPU. I'm sorry, I forgot about the plugging in the CPU fan. So let's plug in the CPU fan to the one that says CPU over here. I'm going to just take a quick look which one it says. CPU fan 1. So it's the first one. Some of them have multiple connections on the board. Just read whatever is on the board and just put in the first one that says number 1 or 0 if the one's labeled 0. Now for the RAM sockets, we have 4 sockets. So with DDR4, which this is, you would need to make sure that you're in dual channel mode. To make sure of that, you're going to need to check the board and see which DIMM sockets are supposed to be populated. This board has it written on it. It's just really, really, really small. So I'm going to try to get this on camera, but hopefully we won't have a problem seeing that. Right in here, it actually labels the first socket and the third socket as the first two that we should be populating. So if you can see that on camera, those, it says DDR4B2 and DDR4A2 as the actual sockets that we should be populating. The reason why we want to make sure of that is because we want dual channel mode with DDR4. You're going to lose a lot of speed if you're not in dual channel mode. Now, if you have DDR5, this really doesn't matter because DDR5 is already in dual channel mode to begin with because every chip is just automatically assigned that way. Oh, this was already open. No, it's just a plastic tip. All right. So, just the container. We don't need the box. Plastic is ripped in here. So we're just going to grab each RAM stick. On the RAM stick itself, there is, with Corsair, there's a little label here, so just peel that off. Be sure to peel that off. Do not leave that in the system. You don't want plastic melting anywhere. Same thing for the other RAM socket. You want to check for the notch. The notch is going to line up with the DDR4 socket, and you're going to make sure that the notch goes the same direction as which way you're putting the chip in. If you're pushing too hard and it's not popping into the socket correctly, then double check to make sure you have the notch the right direction. Slide in, it should just pop. Clip should push in. The ones that we're not using, we'll push in manually. We're going to repeat the same process for the second RAM stick. Again, aligning to the board and then pushing in to the socket. Now, all right, so plastic, we don't need this, just recycle. Paper, same thing. And box, just going. All right, moving down, we're going to put in the hard drive next, which is the NVMe. This is a crucial 1 terabyte drive. It is faster than your SATA drive. This goes into the main primary socket, which is also labeled M.2 Armor. It may be labeled differently on your motherboard. You have to figure out which one is the fastest one. To do that, you should reference your manual. It should tell you. Most of the time, the one that has the heatsink cover on it is going to be the one that's going to be the faster one. Now, this drive also comes with a screw. We do not need that. It already comes with the screw on the motherboard, which we're going to put the standoff and the screw down. And I am noticing maybe that one's for the Wi-Fi. So we'll double check in a second. We're going to take out a small screwdriver. We're going to need really, really small screws to actually get these Phillips ones out. I think this is a Phillips 0 or 1, so it's going to be pretty small. Kit-wise, you don't need something this elaborate. You can just use something a little smaller. I just like this because it already has the tool, the screw holder, so I don't have to lose screws. And it's got pretty much every size Phillips made to mankind here. So, there we go. So we're gonna just basically use the really, really small Phillips. Actually, it says size 1 actually. I think size 1 is actually the right size, so we're gonna go with that. I'm just gonna put this off to the side. Hopefully it is correct. All right, so we're just gonna take that, we're gonna unscrew this cover. These screws are really small. Do not use an electric screwdriver for this. You will probably mess them up, so try not to do that. Keep the screws obviously handy. Not every motherboard will have a heatsink for the NVMe drive or hard drive. If it doesn't, then you don't need to do this step. You could just skip to installing the drive. It also has a thermal pad on the back. Before you put this back down, be sure to pull the blue tab because you do not want plastic melting in your case. It would be a bad day. So the socket's right here. This is the beginning part of the socket. That is where you will be screwing it down. You will take the drive out carefully, hopefully not breaking anything. Take the drive out. And you're going to go on a 45-degree angle into the socket so it installs this way. Should just slip right in, and then it should be able to push down onto that side. Now, there is no other extra screw for this one, so that screw is going to be the one for the cover at this point. So you're going to have to let that back up for a second. Pull the tab for this. It's going to show you the heat pad. That is fine. Align it correctly so the words are the correct direction. You should be able to push this down and just slide the cover on top. Just let it lay on top. If it goes on top, there it goes. Okay. Line it up with obviously the posts. Should stay in place, shouldn't move too much. And then what you're going to do is you're going to take the same screws and then screw it back down. Gripping. There we go. If you're a little off, just be sure. Don't screw it all the way down because the other side will lift like I just did. So I just want to push that back and get that screw in place. I'm going to unscrew this side for a second so that I can adjust. Okay. Why are we not adjusting? Come on. Okay. Sometimes this doesn't line up correctly. You're going to have to kind of eyeball it. There it goes. Okay, and then just this side you want to get down. And then the same thing on this side. If you have a less expensive motherboard, or I want to say less feature-rich motherboard, you will not have to worry about this. This little piece is not there, and it's a little easier to install. And did I just totally miss that screw? Let's just make sure I did not miss anything. No, it's in that spot. Looks a little slanted to me. Probably should check to see if it was slanted in the first place. Nope, that's not, that's off. I knew it was off. How do you miss? I hate these Facebook covers. These covers are a little bit of a pain. Sometimes they allow it to move out of place and position itself incorrectly. Oh. When in doubt, just take the cover back off and then reposition again. There we go. Let's remove this. And, sticky thing. Sticky pad, come on. Oh, that sticky pad was covering the whole. All right, well, let's push that back down. That is why it doesn't want to work. Let's get the sticky pad back up. Move it down a little. By the way, it's just a thermal pad. It's not actually, I keep saying sticky pad, but it's not really sticky. It's just kind of a thermal pad. It's fine to, you can move it. You can also pull it back up and then reposition it properly. So it's not going to make a difference on that. I would like to try to get this over the top perfectly. All right. Yeah. doing one-handed. All right, there we go. There we go. Second time's a charm, right? Maybe a third. All right, there we go. It's lining up more efficiently. There we go. The pad was in the way. So if the pad's in the way, you just take it up, move it a little bit, reposition it, push it back down. The more important thing is to make sure that the drive hasn't shifted in any way. If it's shifted in any way, go back and just reconnect it correctly. This has not shifted. It is perfectly over the line. To see that, I don't know if you're gonna be able to see this on camera, but if you look way down there, way in here, actually way up here, you'll see that it is making perfect contact with the standoff that's in there. So it's kind of hard to see on the camera, but it is there. You're gonna have to just trust me on it. All right, so the next step, we are going to just take the screws that we have here. We don't want to lose these little screws. So what we're going to do is just going to put them on the motherboard. The Ultra M.2 socket, which is an extra M.2 socket for more hard drive space. You would use this down here. We're going to put that little screw there. There's also another screw for the M.2 Wi-Fi. And they gave me a third one for what? Did they just give me too many? Or they just thought we were going to lose something? Probably going to think we're losing. Oh, you know what? If you didn't want to use this cover, you could use that optional third screw, which actually that would have probably been easier. But anyway, it's not a big deal. These covers really, they add a little bit of benefit, but there's not really a huge benefit to them. There's nothing like, they've already tested that these things are just nice and nifty. They do protect it a little bit better, but that's about it. I mean, but there really shouldn't be anybody going in the machine anyway. So, all right, so we're gonna put a screw there. This one doesn't actually, the M.2 Wi-Fi does not have a standoff, so we're gonna put that in place. That's what this little standoff that came with. The motherboard should go in place. These are really, really small. So that's why you don't give them back to the customer or something like that, or you know, leave them on a side of a box or something, because you will probably forget where they are or lose them. And to get new ones of these are really difficult. You would have to either match them up to the motherboard from the manufacturer, or you'll have to try eBay or something like that, which is gonna be real hard. I wouldn't recommend that. I recommend you just contact the motherboard manufacturer. You'll probably have a better chance. But if they change this spec, you're gonna have a hard time matching up that screw. So be sure to just install it. This screw will leave off to the side. That's extra. We will put that in the case. Throw that out. Okay, so the motherboard's pretty much done. We're gonna just tuck the cabling away a little bit, just to start with organization of cables, even if it's a little early, but it's a little easier to do now while it's outside the case. I'm just gonna tuck everything down underneath the RAM socket so it's out of the way and doesn't get caught in the fan. It is okay to tuck down below. The heatsink really doesn't get that hot. I mean, it gets a little warm, but that's the purpose of the fan. Just tuck the cable out of the way so at least it gets away from the actual fan blades. You don't want it to grind on the fan blades. All right, so we're ready to put this in the into the actual case. Let's get all this stuff cleared out of the way. We're gonna move the motherboard out of the way for a sec. We're gonna get the case over here. Oh, boy. This is a Thermaltake H17. This is more of a simple case. It's not very flashy, but that's actually better, I think, for most systems. It's not made to be flashy. What you're gonna do is you're just gonna unscrew the 4 screws that are holding in the side panel. Sorry, this is probably not very visible on the camera, but we're just popping off panels. That's all we're really doing. Slide off the panels, keep them off to the side. And before you start anything, they always have the little screw bags and all the cabling all tied up. You want to undo this cabling, undo the bags here. Take this out, untwist tie everything. Anything that has a metal tie like this, that has metal in it, you'll want to throw this out. Do not put that back in your case. It does come with some plastic zip ties. That's what we're actually going to be using to tie down cables. So you get a few plastic ones that come with the system. Just keep them off to the side. We will use those. And it also comes with all the screws for the case, as well as a speaker. Plastic one's thrown over there. All right, so speaker-wise, I don't usually plug this in because this is just aggravating and annoying. It just makes the little beep noise when the computer starts up. We don't need extra beeps. We are just going to keep that off to the side. Screw-wise, they are labeled, except for the one for the motherboard, and the motherboard one is looking like this. The other way. There we go. All right, so this is for the motherboard and for some of the power supply, as well as a graphic card if you have one. This is all the screws for that. Everything else has a proper label on it, like this one. This one says used for 3.5-inch HDD. We are not putting any of these in, so we're just going to keep this on the side. That's going to go inside the case at the end. We're just going to strap it down to the bottom. This says used for 2.5-inch SSD. Again, we're not using any of these, but if we are upgrading later, they're good to keep. We're going to take this screw bag and we are going to undo it. And we're going to use this to use for all the motherboard standoffs and etc. Before you open up this bag, be sure you have a screw tray holder around, or some sort of magnetic one. If you have a magnetic one, it's even better. This one's not magnetic, but it's fine. Screw-wise, yeah, we can almost see it. Let's see. There we go. Okay, so screws, a few different types of screws. You're gonna have your motherboard standoffs, which are these. These are very, very small. These, if you need to actually put one in, you can do that. These are smaller, thinner type screws. And then you also have the thicker type. This type is usually for your power supply or graphic card. These are fan screws. They're the ones that look like they have a, there's that over there. All right, so just separating a little bit. Separate. That's enough. Okay, so this is for like fan screws, like for your, if you have an external fan, another fan to add on. I don't know why they even give you two. It's kind of weird. Most add-on fans usually come with their own screws, but these are screws for any type of case fan. So any like fan for the front of the case or the rear of the case or the top of the case, that's what you would use. They are a little bit thicker threaded, and those are made to bite into the plastic a little bit differently. These are thinner screws. The thinner screws here are usually used for the motherboard. These are very small, thin screws that fit into one of the standoffs that are here. There are more standoffs already in the case, so you may not even have to add more of them. The other screws here, which are off to the left, these are sometimes used for a power supply or for a graphic card if you are adding one and there is no screw in the back side of the case, you can use an additional one. Functionality over flashy. Yes, this case literally is that. It is very well function over form. So you will definitely be able to put in whatever you need to put in. It's also big enough to handle like mostly any size graphic card, any contemporary new graphic card, or even, you know, motherboards that are a little larger or smaller. It should fit with no problem. So front panel connectors, which is all of these lovely cables that go up to the connections on the top of the case, which is like your power button, your USB ports, USB 2.0 and 3.0. And you also have an HD audio connector. We're going to connect everything anyway, but most of this we're not going to really use on a daily basis, but it will be there. I usually like to separate out the cables that are thinner first before I start, so that we have all the front panel connectors together. And then we also have all of the USB and audio connectors on the other side. Now, which one's which? This is USB 3.0. It's the only one that looks like this. This is HD audio. It is labeled very clearly there. And then this is USB, also very labeled. They are just functional, so we're going to put those off to the side there. The front panel connectors are a little smaller. These are very fine pins. This is a power supply switch. They are labeled. The one is HDD, which is your hard drive LED. Any LEDs you'll see are positive, negative. They must match the same thing on the motherboard. They should match positive, positive, negative to negative, so they light up correctly. If they don't light up, just flip them because you had it the wrong way, or you have it in the wrong pin socket. Reset switch, same thing, again labeled. They're all black, which is nice, so at least this way they don't stand out too much. And then you get your power LED, which is also power LED plus and negative. So we're gonna put those in shortly after we do, I'm gonna do the power supply actually first, because we already have it this direction. Let's save ourselves a step. And let's do the power supply. So let me get the motherboard out of here for a second. This over here. And let's do the power supply. There. Power supply is a Thermaltake. This is a 600 watt. This is a Smart Series. If you are doing a graphic card, this is not the power supply for you. This power supply is reliable. It is reliable to a point. It is not reliable to 600 watts. I hate when these manufacturers say 600 watts when they really don't mean 600 watts. It is good for a server because it is just reliable. It is ultra quiet. This doesn't consume a lot of power. You know, if you don't have a system that consumes a lot of power, this is a perfect power supply for that. That's why I say do not use a graphic card with this. Or if you do use a graphic card, it's got to be a very low-end graphic card because this does not accept a lot of power, and I'm going to show you why right now. So first of all, power cord, keep it up to the side, some more wire ties and some screws to screw in the power supply, which I'm going to leave off to the side there. Manual, pointless. Some treats. No, I'm just kidding. This is just a silicone packet. Don't eat that. Power supply itself. And box. We'll get rid of the box. Now I'm going to show you why this does not actually support fully 600 watts right now. Let's take this off. What you're going to look at is the sticker, which hopefully is, yeah, it's kind of clear. So on the sticker, there's a lot of numbers here. The most important number you're going to look at is total power, and then you're going to look at the plus 12 volt rail. The plus 12 volt rail says 540 watts. Not sure if you guys can see this. Hopefully you can. That means the max that this power supply can really handle is 540 watts. Max for the graphic card. So that means that if you have a really, really new graphic card, you may actually exceed this with including the power of your motherboard and the other stuff when you're running at a high amount of yield, or in other words, a high amount of processing power. You're going to have that issue. So I would recommend that you basically don't use this power supply for something that has a high-end graphic card. Just use it for something that has integrated graphics or GPU without the GPU, just the regular CPU GPU. Does that make sense? Integrated graphics is the better way to put that. So the graphics are basically built into the processor, not an actual separate board. There's no dedicated graphics. I'm going to untangle this because before I put everything in, I really want to be able to access all the wires. So just get rid of this plastic tie, metal tie, whatever it is. Is this supposed to come out? Oh, there, it pops back in. Oh, plastic was a little loose. All right, a little weird, but that's okay. So, power supply, This is the bottom of the case. What I usually do is I mount it downwards because the fan itself is going to mount towards the bottom of the case. This allows for better airflow from the bottom, pulling, fresh air in and then exhausting hot air out. This is the best way to do this because it already has a mesh filter right there and you can easily just slide this into place. So fan faces down towards the bottom of the case, towards the hole that's there. This is a little tricky to do on camera, so I might have to rearrange this a little bit because it's going to fight me on gravity. But you will put the 4 screws in from the back side. This is the back side of the case. You're going to put the 4 screws into the slots that line up with the power supply. So we're going to take the 4 screws that are here. Zip ties, that's always good. And take the 4 screws out. It should be 4 black, the black screws. Did they give me actually 4? Yeah, they did. All right, so 4 screws. If you're missing a screw, obviously the case does come with some extra screws, or if you drop one, it's not the end of the world, just grab another one. We're gonna line this up with the screw holes in the back. I'm gonna have to lift this up a little bit, but I recommend if this is your first time doing this, don't do this direction. I would sit the case upwards to not have to fight gravity. I'm right now fighting gravity, but it's okay because I want to make sure that you guys can see that this is getting screwed in properly. There's only 4 screws in the back that will line up to the holes. Make sure they're screwed into the ones that obviously are the holes, proper holes. And I just said that and I almost put it into the wrong hole there. That's a bad idea. There we go. After all the screws are in, to make sure they're all tight. Again, you don't need to use an electric screwdriver, by the way. I'm using one because I'm lazy about it. But, if this is your first build, I recommend you use just a regular standard screwdriver, nothing fancy. Just because then you can make sure that you're not cross-threading something or anything like that. All right, so all the connectors. We have your main connector here, which is your 24-pin connector. This goes down to your motherboard. The only other one that we're going to be using is the one labeled CPU. Off the power, there we go, here it is. CPU. There is one that's also labeled PCIe. That is for your graphic card. Be sure not to make a mistake of these. These can be easily mistaken. If you look at them, they look kind of similar. Be sure that you are using the CPU one that's going to your motherboard. Be sure that the PCIe one goes to your graphic card if you have a graphic card. We will not be using this today. Other connectors, just to get you familiar with them. This is a Molex connector, very old, probably not going to be used ever. This is a SATA connector. SATA connectors are very thin. They are used for SATA hard drives or CD-ROMs if you have one. This case does not have a CD-ROM connector holder, nor does most of the new cases, but they give you a lot of SATA connectors just in case you want to plug other stuff in. If you have a lot of RGB lighting, you could also use that. If you're not going to use the one that's on the motherboard, you can definitely use that. Now, we're not going to do anything with these wires and push them through yet. We got to get the motherboard installed first, and then we will push all these cables through. So right now I'm just going to tuck these cables down here for now, just so they're out of the way, so I can flip the case over. So we're just going to do that. I got to tuck everything. Get in there. There we go. All right, so let's flip it over. Carefully. Holding the wires back. Okay, that's fine. And let's get this. Why is this still here? There we go. Just be careful the wires not to pinch them. I don't want to pinch them. All right, so inside the case, a little blurry. There we go. Inside the case, this is basically right side up right now, facing down. So motherboard's going to go here. I/O shield's going to go down here to the side. This is your rear exhaust fan. It does come with one fan, which is nice. That is plenty for this type of case. If you are going to have a graphic card, I recommend that you do another intake fan in the front. There are a spot for 3 more fans in the front, top, middle, bottom. I would recommend somewhere in the middle that you put one because the graphic card would go about here. If you have SSDs, they are labeled. You can put them in here, 1, 2, and there's a third one on the back. Motherboard, we're gonna put that in next, but we're gonna get this power cord out of the way. This is just for the rear fan, so we're just gonna tuck that over there so it stays out of my way. Now, before I do anything, I'm gonna put the damn IO shield in. I don't know how many times I've forgotten this darn thing. Luckily, none of my other builds I have forgotten, but I usually do forget this stupid thing. So, IO shield, take this out first, out of the plastic. IO shield just basically has some labeling for all the ports that are gonna be there. You shouldn't have to bend too much, just bend the little metal pieces up if they are in your way, which these are. Be careful, this is sharp, so if you don't know what you're doing, maybe wear gloves, you know, for the first time. You're gonna line up the IO shield. The IO shield is going to be, this part is the bottom, this part is the top, so this will go down towards the bottom. It will pop in place into the only square hole that literally fits this. Now, some motherboards have the IO shield attached to the motherboard. I wouldn't say that's an advantage, but it is a little nicer because you'll never forget it. So at least it'll be always attached, but it really doesn't matter too much. All right, we're gonna get the motherboard. Motherboard simply, ooh. Yeah, that's not great. Okay, there we go. So motherboard has little screw holes here. These are gonna all line up with the little standoffs that are on the case. These are all going to line up, and these are the actual, these are going to be the standoffs. These standoffs are already in place, so just going to match these up to the holes that you have on your board. What you're going to do is count up how many holes you have here and count up how many stands you have here. You should be able to match up to about the same, and they should match up in a line up to exactly which ways you have them on the board. If you want to make an error check, you can count how many holes you have, count how many standoffs you have. They should match how many screws you're going to be putting in. If they are incorrect, take the board back out and then double check to make sure you don't have an extra standoff down below or you're missing a standoff. The reason why I say this is so important is because you will ground out this motherboard. On the back of the board, you've noticed that they are little traces and connectors that stick up. If that sticks to a metal piece and grounds out, you're going to have a bad day. The motherboard will not work. It may also destroy the motherboard. So I'd recommend you try to make sure that you have the proper amount of standoffs, proper amount of screws, and make sure they are all in the correct positions. We are missing, for this motherboard, we are missing two, one here, one there. So we're gonna put them in place. The motherboard does come with a little bit of a diagram down below the case does come with a little bit of a diagram down below. It does say mini ITX, micro ATX, and it says 1 and 2. It should match kind of that, but I wouldn't go by that. I would also still go by the motherboard itself. These are a pain to screw in. Okay, they're not wanting to go. If they are hard to screw in, you're gonna use a nut driver just to drive them down a little bit. If you have an iFixit kit, it comes with a nut driver. If you don't, you can buy one almost anywhere. They are not expensive. This is what it looks like. It's just a hexadecimal, it's hex. 1, 2, yeah, 6. So it's a hex bit. So it's not that hard to use. It's easy to drive these down. Just gonna basically take this. It's gonna be a little easier than using your fingers to try to screw that down. So just back it out a little bit, push it down, and then get it to go all the way flush to the motherboard. You wanna make sure that this goes all the way down because you want that tight. You don't wanna screw something in and put the screw out and then it's gonna get stuck to the bottom of the motherboard. So you wanna make sure that they are flush to the board, flush to the case. And same thing, you can put the driver in there and just screw in. forgotten a few times on camera. Oh, thank you. Thank you for reminding me that I have forgotten something on camera. I appreciate that so much. All right. If not on camera, when? All right, so everything else is tightened down. And we're just gonna change this back out. We'll put this back so we don't lose stuff. And we're gonna put the board in place. So the board's gonna slide in. If you noticed, I've grabbed the board from the heatsink CPU fan. This is okay to do, just be careful not to go, you know, swinging it around or anything, but it should be good enough to be able to lay it down into the case without having to touch the back of the board, and then slide it in place. It should line up with the I/O in the back. Make sure all the I/O ports are able to be seen and they're not being buried, which they aren't. Now with this case, it has little, I don't want to say recessed, it's not recessed. The standoffs themselves have like a little lip to them that actually grab onto the board. That's what that little click noise that you heard, that means that it is now in place. You can start screwing down all the rest of the screws. If you have this case upwards, that makes it a little easier for this to stay in place so you can put screws in without it falling out of the case. So we're just going to use the screws and screw down all of the screw standoffs that we have. Again, make sure that if you're new to this, you may want to count how many screws you need and make sure to verify that you have the same amount of screws as standoffs. Repeat the process all the way through. Okay. If you have a regular screwdriver, you can do this also. You don't need to, again, you don't need to use an electric one. In fact, if it's your first time, I recommend you don't, because then you may end up cross-threading a screw or something like that, and that would be really bad. All right. Did I get everything? Yeah. All right, so I got everything down. At this point, we're ready to do one more thing over on this side, which I'm gonna just take this. I always forget to plug in the fan too, so just plug in the fan. There's a fan connector is right here on the board. It's right next to the graphic card slot and the NVMe slot, so you can just take that off. I usually just put a wire tie on this before I put it all the way down to the board. It should reach, but it just saves me from having to redo it later. Where's my cutter? Something here? Ah, it's over here. Okay. Wire cutter is just going to cut off the tail. In this case, tails are no good. Take that off. Get rid of that. This is a 3-pin connector. The 3-pin connector only goes one way, so if you're forcing it in, you're doing it wrong. Just take it back out and then readjust it. And you shouldn't have to bend any pins. It should just fly right in place. There you go. Slide right in place. It should only go one way again. If you're pushing down too hard and the pins are bending and stuff, stop. You know, it should just slide right on. If it's giving you a lot of pushback, then you're doing it the wrong way. So just stop. You don't want to bend pins, it's worse. All right, so we're going to take all the power and move it over to here. I'm going to take note of a few things. Where this is, and where that is, the CPU at the top. So we're going to go through this hole here with most stuff, and then down here we are going through this hole and that hole, or grommet, whatever you want to call it. So let's go back, and we're going to take all the cables that we need to move and put them in place. So lots of cables. I'm going to separate everything out again because everything kind of got messed up over here. I'm going to separate the thinner wires. The thinner wires are for the front panel connectors and the lighting. So you're gonna have like power and reset and all that stuff. There's a little bit of plastic on here. Well, manufacturing, man. A little bit of plastic, there we go. All right, so that goes all the way down. That's gonna come up into this grommet here, which is this side of the board that has that connectors, those connectors. So we're just gonna slide that into place. Now, if this is your first time, I would recommend you probably lift this up and do this side to side so you can see both ends. I've done this 1.5 billion times, so I kind of know where everything is going. But if you don't know, that's okay. Just lift up the case and do it that way instead. So I'm going to take the next two, which is going to be your USB and your audio. We're going to take that and slide that up into the grommet that is closest to the power supply. Sorry, that's a little hard to see there. That's this grommet here. This grommet here. Just sliding that up and underneath. Again, just slide as much as you can onto that side just so you have it so it doesn't slide back. For now, we're going to pull those back once we're done. The 3.0 is actually on this side of the board near the 24 pin, so we're going to put that in there. The 24 pin is also going to go into that same hole, which is this lovely 24 pin. Yep. All right, so that's going to go, come on, right into this hole here. Again, you see if I'm pushing all that in there, but that extra slack is going to come back to this side when I go to tie it down. Now the CPU one, that's really blurry. I don't know, whatever. It says CPU, and that's going to go in the upper corner. This one's a little special. That's going to go in this upper corner because that's where that connector is on the board. So we're going to cross things a little bit. I like to try to keep this a little bit organized because when I go to tie this down, it's going to be a little bit of a problem. Put it up there. Wow, this barely makes it. All right. Now that you get all the cables on the right side, you're going to take this and flip it back over. Holding everything in place so it doesn't slide back. Okay. All right, so now what you're going to do is just plug everything into the proper sockets. This is USB 3.0. It is the only one that looks like that. It is the blue connector. I'm going to pop that in there. Should click in place. You might not hear the click on the microphone, but it does click. And this one is the 24 pin. 24 pin you got to kind of wrestle with, get it in the right direction. There are clips on these. The clips always face the little, the clip basically faces the little clip of the connector, so just push it in. It should click again in place. Same thing, pull this one up for the CPU. You want to make sure you got the right direction, and then just plug it in. Now for the CPU, this is an 8-pin connector, and it is actually 8-pin on the motherboard. If it is a 4-pin, these do separate to allow it to do a 4-pin if you need to separate it out to a 4-pin. Do not try to plug in an 8-pin to a 4-pin connector without separating it. You're gonna bend the pins, so just be careful. Now, bottom, we're gonna do the front panel. Do I want to do the front panel? Yeah, I want to do the front panel. All right, so front panel connectors are usually the same way. HDD is first, plus negative. It is labeled on the motherboard. If you can't see it, there is a manual. The manual does have it a little bit more exploded view if you want something that's a little bigger. Just doing the reset switch, power switch. The switches don't matter on which way they go. The LEDs do matter. So make sure your power LED and your HDD LED are actually positive, negative. Again, if they don't work when you turn it on, flip them over. I've done this 1.5 million times. That's the reason why this is taking me like 5 seconds. But take some time, plug these in correctly. You won't have to frustrate yourself later. USB connection is keyed out, so it has a little black key mark on it. This is really hard to see, but it's got a black key mark on it, so you're going to fit it to the USB, one labeled USB, and make sure it goes the right direction. Plug it in. And the audio connector, which fell behind. Darn it. Okay, like usual. I'm going to lift it up and go back over and grab it. Where did it go? Oh, darn it. Ah, there it is. So when this happens, you may have to use both sides of the case just to refeed it through the hole again. And then now it's up there. All right, so the audio HD audio connector is labeled HD audio on the motherboard, and it will only fit one way because it is keyed, again, with one knockout. So you just make sure the knockout fits the same direction and plug it in. Again, these are connections that are probably not going to be used because this is a server, but the USB may be used. The audio, definitely not. You know, it's a server. There's no audio that's going to be really pushed through, so it doesn't make any sense. But we connect it anyway because it's there. Now what we're going to do is we're going to pull all these cables back and then do some wire tying, a little bit of wire management, and then we will start the system up. So let's do that. Let's flip it back over, and let's get the wire management done. All right, so wire management should be pretty quick and easy on this case because they have little anchor points for all the wires. You're going to take the wire ties that you have here. You can use any wire tie just as long as it's thin enough to fit through the anchor point. What I'm doing right now is just bending back the tail. I should come closer. I am bending back the tail like so. And the reason why I'm doing that is that it'll fit through the anchor a little bit faster without having to fight it. So it won't get lost in the process. So just slide it up and under, pull the wire tie straight, and then you just zip tie it down. Now when you zip tie this down, you want to pull the slack up, but don't pull really hard, just pull enough to make sure that the slack is pulled from the other side so you don't have a lot of slack on that side. It'll just make it easier for cleaning. It'll also keep a nice clean look. It's not really necessary to pull up the rest of the slack, but I like to do it just because I know when I go back into a case, I know that when I gotta clean this thing, it's not gonna be a mess and very difficult to deal with. So let's put this down, and one more on this side. Yeah, come on. There we go. Under there. There. Again, just follow the anchor points down to the rest of the power supply. What I like to also do is move these wires out of the way a little bit so that they fit more properly, and just try to line them up here. This all goes downwards this direction, and just slide those out of the way for right now. Again, we're going to pull up the slack on the 24 pin. That should be a lot of slack there, and the USB 3.0. Just be careful of the 3.0 header. It is very weird on how it's angled. It's a much thicker cable, so you don't want to end up putting too much pressure on that. All the front panel connectors, I'm going to just kind of rework here to these little anchor points here. So if you want, you can always just kind of line up what you want and then figure out where you want to put everything and then tie it down, or you can go the opposite way. Now I've worked in this case a lot, so I kind of know where all the anchor points are. I try to stay away from the ones over here on the left, just in case we got to add a hard drive at a later time. You won't be blocking something to actually install it. That's why you see me going this direction. This direction is not as favorable as using the ones over there, but it looks a little nicer the other way, but honestly, this is the back of the unit. No one's gonna really see this. But I'd rather have more function over the way than over the way it looks. I really don't care too much about the way it looks. I'd rather be able to easily upgrade it at a later time. So, more zip ties. These are a little thicker ones, that's fine. Try to grab as many wires as you can. Make sure they're going one direction. I try to go all the way down in a central location just to make it a little easier. But you don't want to make this too thick here, so make sure to, flatten out the cables a little. If this gets a little too chunky, you're not going to be able to close the case cover. It does have a very thick lip here, so it does allow for a little extra room, but sometimes you will have a problem with closing the case, and in that case you may have to cut the wire ties and start over a little bit. Now obviously you see me here, I'm not tightening this all the way because it will make this too thick and it will make it not close. So you may want to flatten it down. If you're unsure, you can use these if you know you're not going to add any more hard drives. We're going to clip the tails. I always save the clipping for the last, just so it's all done at once. Last two pieces over there. All right, everything else at the bottom, all these lovely cables from the power supply. We're gonna take all of these, pull them back out, organize them a little bit so they're in a nice little form. Try to lengthen them so that when I go to tie them, they kind of tie evenly. They're not going to be perfect, but I should flip that one down. There we go. And then we're going to just tie these all together. I'm going to tie them, put them at the bottom, out of the way. If you have a power supply that is modular, this one is not modular. This is all assembled together. But if you have one that is modular, be sure to tie all of your module cables and leave them at the bottom of the case. You don't want to plug the wrong modular cables in at a later time for the wrong power supply. That will cause a fire, or it may destroy some of your equipment depending upon the situation, because if you have the wrong cabling, you'll have a problem. These power cables are not interchangeable when they are modular. So be sure that you do not lose your proper cables. You should use the same ones that came with the power supply. If you are unsure and you have lost something, contact the power supply manufacturer, get the proper cables shipped to you. Don't take a chance of plugging the wrong ones into the wrong system. You're gonna just keep tying up the rest of the cables, and then you're gonna tie them back to the bottom part of the case. I'm just trying to condense this a little bit. You may want to invest in a little extra cable ties just in case, because they don't give you enough. They only give you like 5 or 6 or something like that. It's just never enough. Now, my other coworkers will tell me that I am crazy for cable tying all of this, but I like to make sure that it's nice and neat and it is out of the way. So when we go to do cleanings, the cleanings are a little faster because you don't have all the cables in your way, and you can just tap the cables and then they are clean. They're not going to have a lot of dust. Now, what I like to do is try to, if I can't get this to stay, which I'm going to see if it can. Actually, it's staying pretty good. Yeah, I'm okay with that. As long as it's pressure in there and it's staying, it's fine. If it's wobbly, then you may want to tie it to the bottom. There are some extra, no, you can't see that. There are some extra holes down here at the bottom for hard drives. I usually just use those as kind of zip tie points and just tie it down, because most of the time we're not using spinning rust drives anymore, so they're just extra holes at this point that are used for anything else. What I also like to do is I take the old screws that we did not use, and I zip tie them to the bottom part of the case, which I'm going to do right now. Just gonna kind of shake them out a little, cut a little hole through the bags. Do not cut a very big hole, because you're going to need to use that friction to hold the bags in place. So just put the zip tie through, and then you're going to put the zip tie and the whole case cover plastic bags all the way through at the bottom. Just going to push that through, and now it's down here, and you just leave it down there. Just zip tie it all the way up. Just make sure it's nice and tight so the plastic bag and the screws stay all at the bottom. This is just so you don't lose those, because we don't have that many screws to go around. If we do have to add a drive, we have them available for the technician to put it in with no problem. Or the user, you know, whoever. All right, that's it for the build here. I'm gonna start working on the BIOS right now, and let's get the loading up in Ubuntu. So let's bring this back over, flip the machine around. You could put the case cover on. I'm not gonna put the case cover on because we're just working on it at the current time. Let me flip over the other camera. All right, so, ooh, get out of here. All right. What I'm going to do is just going to connect up a keyboard, mouse, monitor, which I'm going to connect up to here so you guys can see what's going on. Keyboard and mouse. A little too fancy keyboard and mouse for this, but it's fine. Just going to connect everything up. So I'm just connecting up regular connectors. This is, you know, anybody can do this. Keyboard. Over there. Keyboard. Else, video, we're going to do video. You'll see the video in a second when we plug it in. HDMI, we're going to use that. We're not going to plug in Ethernet right now. It's not necessary. We're going to plug in Ethernet in 2 minutes. Let me just get the BIOS done first. And let me undo some of this cabling because this is way too tight. There's not enough cable here. There we go. All right, so knife away. All right. Yeah, that's all I need. There's a power supply switch on the back of this unit, so we're just going to flip that, and then we're going to flip the other one on. We're going to go to the overhead camera. Turn me back on there. There we go. All right, let's power it on. So let's power this back on, and we're going to go into the BIOS. Hopefully it'll boot and it won't break. Let's see. There we go. So Intel boots a little faster than AMD, especially off the first boot. The BIOS, let's get in the BIOS. I just hit the delete key on the keyboard to get to the BIOS. I'm going to make this a little bigger so I can see what the hell I'm doing. There we go. Okay. What you want to check in the BIOS is a few things. You want to make sure that your RAM is correct. The initial screen that comes up gives you a basic understanding of what's going on in the system. I recommend you go over this really quickly just to make sure everything's there. ASRock has gotten really good with actually showing you exactly what you need. And in this case, we need to make sure the RAM is correct. We got two 16 gigabyte sticks in A2 and B2. That is correct. I do not have the XMP profile on. That's the reason why the RAM is at a lower speed right now. We're going to leave that at a lower speed right now because I got to update the BIOS. When I update the BIOS, it's going to take the XMP profile out again. So we'll have to reset it, so it's pointless to set right now. You want to check temperatures to make sure that the CPU is not running hot or anything funky is going on before you update the BIOS. In this case, that is running pretty cool at 25.5 C. That is fine. Motherboard temperature is at 23. What would be hot? 90 to 100 C, that's hot. So be sure that it's nowhere near that. If it's in 50 and 60 at idle, you might have a more advanced processor, or maybe the processor is a more higher end processor. That might be another possibility. So might be okay with that temperature. But in my opinion, you could also double check this temperature with Intel's website. You can go to Intel Arc and determine that. That's not a problem. Someone put one. Okay. Hi there. Oh, okay. You're just joking. All right. So now what we want to do is get the BIOS. I didn't download the BIOS yet because I totally fucking forgot. So like I usually do, I forget something and I have forgotten to download the BIOS. So I have a flash drive around here somewhere, which I just put down. Where the hell did I put the darn flash drive? Flash drive. I'll just cover it. By the way, keep your desk organized. Don't do what I do, which is just a mess around here. Oh, there it is. Okay, so gonna need a flash drive. I already have this loaded up with Ubuntu on one, and I got a memory tester on the other, mem test on the other. So for memory testing later on. This board has RGB lighting on it. That's weird. Okay, whatever. That's not a big deal. Sorry, it's distracting me. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to plug in this drive into our streaming system here. And that's going to come up hopefully. And maybe not. Let me just switch over to that screen in a second, guys. Just bear with me. Oh, that has Ubuntu. I can load it on here. That's fine. All right, so let me switch over to that screen so you guys can see what I'm talking about. Boop. There we go. All right, so this has got Ubuntu on it. This is that flash drive that I just plugged in. I'm going to grab the motherboard drivers. So let's open up another window here. And give me a second. Let me bring it over. Wow, there we go. Look at that. Okay. So we're just going to go to Google first. And we're going to search for the motherboard, which the model is on in the description, but it is also on the box. So I'm just going to take the box, going to type over what it is. It's an ASRock, It is a B660M Pro RS. So we're going to search for that. Make sure that whatever you find, make sure that it is off the manufacturer's website. Make sure it says ASRock.com. Do not download something that is not from the manufacturer. So make sure the model number is correct, which it is, B660M Pro RS. Click on it, and then you're going to go to support, and you're going to type it again. Are you kidding me? Oh, man. No, maybe down here. So, there we go. Support. So, why was this support up here? All right, stupid site. Anyway, down here on support, you want to go over to support, then go to BIOS, and you want to look at the BIOS that's the most current BIOS. In this case, it is version 11.06. It was released actually just recently, last month. And you want to just scroll down, make sure there's nothing weird going on here that says, oh, I need, like if there's something in red usually, you may want to read that release note and make sure that that has nothing to do with your current BIOS. So like if it says, oh, upgrade to this BIOS first, then you need to follow that, specific reasoning. Now, I usually just download the newest one, which is the global 11.06. It's going to download into some stupid zip file, open it up. You're going to open up the zip file. You're going to take that ROM file and you're going to drag it over to the USB disk that I have here. Let's bring it over, drop it. And that's it. That's the file that you need to install onto the other system. So we're going to close this. We don't need this system anymore. Going to eject the drive. In my case, just pull the drive out. And I'm going to plug it into the new machine. And we're going to flip back over to the new machine. We are still in the BIOS, which is good. I'll put myself back up there. There we go. All right, so what I usually do is I plug in the USB flash drive, but I also reboot the system really quickly, which is just give it a quick Control-Alt-Delete, or you can hit the reset button, whichever you prefer. And then go back into the BIOS by hitting the delete key. And then you're going to go to Instant Flash. Instant Flash or Instant Flash? It's probably Instant Flash. Instant Flash. Get the right mouse. There we go. Instant Flash Utility. And click that. Okay, it's going to give you a little warning about BitLocker. If you're using BitLocker, I would recommend that you either have the recovery key before you start or remove BitLocker and then continue. This is a brand new system, so we don't have BitLocker on there to begin with, but if you do, you need to have that because it is going to change your TPM module around. It's going to screw with things. So you won't be able to access your drive if it's encrypted with BitLocker and you don't have your recovery key. It's going to probably ask you for it. So anyway, let's move on. Let's say yes because we're okay with it. I click yes. There we go. Okay, it's going to search the USB flash drives and it found the ROM that we're looking for. We just hit update. That is correct. That is the same name that we just previously did. So hit update. It says, are you sure? Now, before you do this, make sure that you have steady power, because if you lose power during this, you will brick your motherboard. You will have a problem. It will be a very bad day for you. You may have to return your motherboard to get it fixed, because there's no way to fix that if this flash gets interrupted during this time. So if you have a UPS battery, this is the time to plug it in and make sure you're on UPS battery before you start this, just in case you lose power. So let's hit yes. Okay, it's gonna go automatically reboot. That's okay. It'll reboot and it'll start flashing. Do not remove the flash drive during this time. Do not power the system off. Leave it go. It's gonna do some weird rebooting. It's gonna do some loading. This is normal. Don't touch anything. Just let it go. And it'll even remind you, do not power off during Intel update or Intel flash. Just leave it. If you do turn this off, again, very bad day. So let's not do that. During this time while it's installing, do not touch the case. Do not close the case cover. Don't just walk away. That's basically the answer. Just walk away. Don't touch anything. Just let it go. You don't want to put a shock to the case or something like putting the case cover on. Someone's done that before where they were flashing the machine, accidentally touched the case cover, they had some static electricity, and the system rebooted. Again, very bad day. So don't touch anything, just sit back, relax, wait for the percentage to go through, don't do anything. Also, don't do this during like a lightning storm or something stupid, you know what I mean? Like, don't, you know, at a chance of losing power, this is the worst time to do that. All right, so this will go pretty quickly in about another minute or two. It's gonna do its thing. All right, while this loads, oh, I forgot I did a poll. I did a poll. Yes, I did a poll. Okay. Let's see. Do I have the right mouse? Yes, I do. Okay. The poll, you know, we'll wait till the poll's done. We'll wait till the end of the stream just to be sure that we get everybody's vote in. Okay. Do not power off. Yes, that's correct. After this is done loading, then we're going to load up Ubuntu. We're going to load up Ubuntu Server. I think it's 22 point something. Let me double check. Yeah. This is Ubuntu Server, and it is the newest version available, which is... This version is 22.04.2 LTS. We always love the LTS, the long-term support one, just so we don't have to upgrade to the newest OS for 3 or 4 years. Depends on when you install it. And it also offers the most amount of support based on that. Now, Ubuntu Server does not have a graphical interface defaultly installed, so it will be all command line. This is going to be a little bit different than most of our installs. Most of our other installs, you'll see like Windows being loaded or something like that. In this case, it is literally just all command line. It also offers the best amount of performance for the fact that you don't need to have a graphical interface over the loading process. It also updates more smoothly, and it also doesn't have any telemetry crap built into it, just the regular standard, you know, it checks firm errors and stuff like that. Now, during this, by the way, during this reboot, you just noticed that it rebooted and went back to a black screen. This is normal. Again, do not touch the power button. Do not do anything. Just wait for the screen to finish doing its thing. It may take some time to come back up. This is normal. There we go. So hit delete again. I'm just going to go into the BIOS just to be sure the version number changed. Oh, my face is covering the version number. So let me go over down here. Okay, so no, it's not on there. Huh. Okay, so the version number is not listed, so we want to go into advanced mode, which is F6. And when you're in F6, you're going to basically just take a quick look through. I'm using the arrow keys just to go back and forth to see where the version number is. Unless my face is still covering this. No. No. Let me turn myself off for a second. Let me just take a look through. Where are you? Oh, ASRock. It used to be simple. Where's the version number? Anybody scream it out if you see it. Turbo ratio. No. Am I just gonna have to take its word for it? Tools, no, it shouldn't do that. Instant flash. Again, no. They totally forgot to write down the version number somewhere. Or am I just blind? Oh, it's right here. Version 11.06, it's right here. 11.06, it was on the first screen. All right, anyways, what we're gonna now do is we're gonna set the XMP profile really quickly. So we're gonna set XMP profile on, and we're gonna put it to the highest speed available, which is already auto-selected at DDR4 3200. How I know this, the RAM box tells you what RAM you have. So your RAM box will have the speed that you have currently listed. Let me go back here. All right, so now what we're gonna do, we're gonna double check the date and time really quick, which is definitely incorrect. 18th at 7:23 p.m. Wait a minute. No. 23. Yeah, it's close enough. All right, so it okay. Is that correct? 7? Yeah. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to make sure we're booting off of the flash drive, but this is the wrong flash drive. I want to do a memory test first. I'm not going to run the whole memory test here because the memory test takes like hours to run. So we don't want to be sitting here for hours, but I want to show how it's done. I'm going to connect up my other flash drive, which I have not misplaced. I made one called memtest. You can download this at memtests directly, and when you plug it in, it should switch. All right, well, anyways, that's okay. We can hit escape. We're just going to go to F6. Oh. Just going to go over to save and exit, which I cannot see. Okay, there we go. Save changes and exit. All right, let's just turn on the XMP memory. You want to turn on XMP first before you run the test, because obviously you want to make sure it can handle XMP. Sometimes some motherboards do not support XMP as well as others, so you'll want to make sure with memtest to make sure it runs and successfully passes all the tests. Go back to the BIOS for a second. It is set up correctly, so it is ready to boot. So let's remain escape. Let's just go. The memtest USB flash drive, it should just auto load up. So it just takes a second. It's going to automatically load, and it should just go straight into it if everything works properly. And if it doesn't, we might have to reset something. There it goes. So it's going to go into its little boot sequence, and it's going to start testing the memory. This is normal. It's not going to look really fancy. It's not a fancy test. It's very boring. You just don't touch anything, and you'll see it's counting down. It's going to start running the test. Now, if you want, you can run more configuration tests if you want to test different portions of the memory. But the default is pretty good. Now, if you've noticed here, it has found the memory. It has found the proper speed. You're looking at the RAM info. It says down on the left side, about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, like 7 lines down, it says RAM info. And then it says XMP 3200 megahertz. That's what we're running at. It is Corsair memory, and it has the proper kit size. This is going to take a while to load. Just let it go. You're going to let it go all the way through. It's going to be 4 passes. So you're going to have 4 passes of memory. This is not even close to pass 1 yet. It's still on pass 1. But this is going to take hours for it to run. Again, we're not going to sit here for hours. We just wanted to show you it, but we will run the test later off stream and let it go through all this. It basically runs random memory pattern tests until it makes sure that every bit of the RAM is working correctly. Why do we do this? With XMP, it is sometimes a little bit picky about the RAM sockets and the RAM itself, and I've had a lot of bad RAM, so It just happens, and you get really, like, the RAM doesn't want to go to the highest speed. And if your customer is paying for the highest speed, they should be able to achieve the highest speed. And if there is something wrong with the RAM, it should be replaced before it goes to visit the customer and before you start to get errors. This case, we're going to skip this for now. We're going to come back and run that later, but it is important to continue the test. Let me end the test. Incomplete, of course. It's fine. We're not going to save anything. We're not going to do any of this. Just X to exit. And we're going to shut down for right now because we're going to switch out the USB flash drive to the one with Ubuntu on it. We're going to load Ubuntu right now, but again, you should run that test fully. Like, you really should not just, you know, skip that test. That test is very important. I also recommend that you test, if it's a server, I recommend you also test the hard drive and make sure that the hard drive that you put in is solid and there's no problems. Now, this is installing Ubuntu. The first option is the one we want, which says try or install Ubuntu Server. That's the one we're going to use. We're not trying it, we're installing it, but you'll get the point. Now, Linux loves to output a whole bunch of garbage. Just ignore the garbage. It should just go right through with no problem. It goes through its check process. It's looking for a lot of things. It likes to output a lot of stuff to the screen. This is normal for Linux. It's not like Windows, where Windows kind of has more of a, you know, a direct link. Oh, I didn't connect an Ethernet, shoot. Oh, by the way, connect your Ethernet cable. You should definitely connect the network. It's going to take longer for each time if it doesn't have it connected. So I'm going to connect it up. It will take some time. It's going to go through its little process. Just let it go. It'll eventually come to a question eventually. Now, not having the Ethernet connected is probably going to be a bad idea. It should have probably been connected earlier, but it's fine. It found it. So it's going to bring you up to the language selection. Choose your language, in this case English today. We're going to basically say, okay, it's asking about installers now available. There's a new installer that is available. Yeah, let's do it. You know, let's update to the newest installer. We'll just download it, install the newest one. This is why you connect the internet, because even if after I actually made this flash drive today, so there was already another version. It's one little version change, but it could be a difference. So let's run the newest one. It says, please select your keyboard. That's all correct. If it's incorrect, push upwards, push the arrow key up to go and change it, hit enter, and then select a different one. But we're going to say done for now because this is correct. Now, it says choose the base installation. In this case, I like to just leave it default at Ubuntu Server. The default install contains a curated set of packages. That's fine. If you're concerned about disk space, you'll want to go to minimized. Or if you're concerned like you're installing it in a government facility or something like that, you'll want to probably do minimized just because you want to have less packages installed. But in this case, I'm okay with the current ones because the current ones I'm going to probably use anyway. So we're going to hit done. Now search for third-party drivers. This machine is an Intel-based machine. You're not going to need third-party drivers because there are no NVIDIA graphic cards. There's no AMD graphic cards. It's going to be fine. So hit done. It is going to look for your Ethernet adapter. It's going to find an IP address, which it did, which is our internal IP address here. And it was assigned from our DHCP server. Everything looks good. It says DHCP 4. I'm not sure if you can read that. That's probably really small. You might have to upgrade. You might have to stretch your screen to see all of it. Hit done. It's going to ask you about a proxy server. In this case, we don't have one. But if you do, this is where you would enter one. Hit enter. It's going to look, excuse me. It's going to look for the most current package list from online. This is normal. I'll let it do its thing. It outputs, again, a lot from the screen. That's okay. The mirror location past tests. Okay, so it's all good. It says reading package list. It seems to be okay. Reading all the model. We're ready to go to done. I didn't realize it said done at the bottom, so done. Next. Now it's partitioning of the disk. We only have one hard drive. This is a really simple install. If you have multiple drives, this is the time to set up your multiple drives and set up different partitions and do all that stuff. This case, we're just going to use the entire disk. It's going to be set up default. Now, it comes down to another option here. It says set up this disk as an LVM group. That is fine. Encrypt the LVM group with Lucas or Lux, whatever. I am not doing this. It causes a lot of confusion. If you want, you can encrypt the drive. It also causes a lot more overhead for the drive to run. If you're installing this if you're installing this system, let's say in a server, server farm or something, you'll want to encrypt the drive. For our case, we really don't need to encrypt the drive. Encrypting the drive just protects it from other, people from hacking the drive or getting into the drive. But that's only by a physical means of actually taking the drive out. So we don't really need to do this for now. We can skip this. It is in a safe location. It's not going to be an issue. So let's hit done. Now it's going to just review. Linux loves reviewing things. If you are okay with the default layout, just stick with it. If not, go back and reset or go back and change the layout that you want. I'm fine with the default. It is okay, I think. Yes, perfectly fine. Just hit done. Select the continue will begin the installation process. It will erase your disk. It's going to tell you that it's just telling you this is not reversible. So that's why continue is marked in red, even if it's the option that we want to go with. Now it's going to say profile setup. This is the first person that's going to be on the server. I'm just going to put my name because I'm not going to put my customer's name there for now. Okay. Server name. We're just going to call this server 2, 1, whatever. It really doesn't matter. Pick a username. I'm just going to put Brian, put a weird password in. Probably should choose a better password. I'm just going to keep it simple right for now. Upgrade this machine to Ubuntu Pro for security updates and much wider range of packages. This is new from Ubuntu. This hasn't been in the last few editions that I've used. Oh, excuse me. So I'm going to skip this for now, but you can also re-enable this later. If you want to re-enable it, you can. This feature allows you to get more security updates from Ubuntu. You also get longer package ranges, but you pay for that. So of course you pay for that. So this is something that we're not going to do for right now because this is open source and the server is not necessarily needed for this. We're going to install OpenSSH because I like to have that available. We're not going to import identities right now. We're just going to allow password authentication for SSH. That is not the best way of doing things. You should always put a SSH key password in, but we don't want to do that right now. And we don't have identities to import, so we're going to just move on. These are all the packages that are optional. I don't install this stuff. I usually do this later, and I like to install what I want to install. I usually run commands to install it, or I'll run a script to install most of the scripting for this, so I don't have to do all this work and check anything off. I just leave this bare bones, hit done. And now it's going to go through installing. Now during this install, you see that it outputs everything. This is fine. This is normal. They don't give you a progress bar. This is a normal thing. Once it's done, it will go to a done screen and it'll say, reboot, and you're all good to go. Now, for whatever reason, if you want to cancel something, you can push the down arrow and cancel, update, and reboot. I just want to install everything right now, so we're just going to let it go do its thing. But you don't have to do this. You can cancel the actual update. It's actually already installed. You're already at this point. You don't need to go any further. I like it to just do the first update just because it's already here and it already does it for you. It's less typing for me. So I'm always a pro anti-typing, So I don't, if it's already doing it, let it do its thing. It's going to do its quick update. During this time, you know, what I usually do is I close up the side panels and, you know, make it all look nice and do all that stuff. I don't want to touch this because it's kind of like in my way right now, but usually that's what I would do during this time. It is a long time process to update, and then it's going to reboot and go to the main boot screen. Again, the boot screen for this is not very exciting. This is literally just all command line based. But it is the most highest performing way of installing Ubuntu. There is a graphical edition that you can install. I think it's called, I don't know what it's called on Ubuntu. Let me look it up while I'm here. There is a graphical version you can load. Now, even loading the GUI for the server GUI from Ubuntu for the server portion, the reason why you don't want to do this for a server, there's a few reasons. You'll be more subject to vulnerabilities because the GUI, of course, requires more updating and more server downtime to do this. It also impacts the performance of the CPU. I don't recommend using a GUI. If you know how to use a server, it also kind of like prevents and allows people to not mess with the server because there's no interface to play with. There's only a command line, and you need to know the commands for it to work. So I feel like that's a little more safer, especially for our practice here. But there is a command that you can run. It will allow you to do it. I personally will not. I usually never do this, but you can do. You can do apt-get install xorg, and that will allow you to. Xorg is XORG. If you want to install that specific GUI interface. If you want the full desktop experience, you can install the Ubuntu desktop. That is apt-get install Ubuntu desktop. I can bring this onto screen since we're waiting anyway, so you can see what I'm reading here. These are all commands that you can look up. They're not, you know, there's nothing really special here when it comes to this. So if you come over here, this help article explains exactly that you can install Ubuntu desktop or in desktop environments. There's different ones. I don't recommend this unless maybe if you're just playing around with the server, you can install this just so you have a nice interface. If you don't like commands, I personally think the commands are better to learn and just, you know, go with the commands instead, because the commands over time are going to be better for you, especially if you're going to be maintaining a lot of servers. Knowing how to do scripts, knowing how to do commands, this all works a lot easier to be able to automate tasks. Linux is great for automating tasks because basically you can automate like updating or patching or even just simple things like, you know, backing up. You can do a script for backing up, and it's very reliable in comparison to Windows in that aspect. Windows, you lose a lot from the interface. Okay, so we're done by basically here. You see, it doesn't really say you're done. It says reboot now. Yeah, it tells you all this lovely stuff, but it's too much garbage. So I'm going to say just end it, reboot it. All right, so that's not my best place for me. There we go. Okay, so now it says failed on mounting CD-ROM. That doesn't. We don't have a CD-ROM. Please remove the installation media and press enter. So I'm just going to unplug the USB flash drive. Oh, wow, that's a tight USB port. There we go. All right, hit the enter key. It's going to reboot. You'll also notice that Ubuntu boots really quickly. You're going to see like if it boots, if it goes straight to the boot. It should. Yeah, by the way, again, it outputs a lot of garbage. Don't worry about that. As long as it says okay, you're good. All right. It's finding everything. And Oh, it made an SSH key. See, this did this already. All right, it's fine. Hit enter, you're already booted. So at this point, you can log in. I'm not going to use the SSH key. We're going to probably reload the system anyway. But now you're back down to the main prompts, and it'll give you a little bit of information about what service you have loaded. The temperature currently is at 38°C. It gives you your IP address, that's an internal IP address. Gives you a memory usage, gives you your percent usage of the hard drive, which is only like 11% used, which is very small. I didn't even install the minimal one. This is kind of one that has a lot of packages installed, so this is pretty much going to be the full installation. But you'll also notice this thing, it says, to run a command as administrator user using root, please use the sudo command, sudo. That is a common thing for Ubuntu. They do not put you as a root user right off the bat to run any type of administrative access or administrative command. You do need to put sudo in front of it. If you want to avoid having to put sudo every 10 seconds and you are going to be writing a lot of commands, you can do sudo su, and that basically means you are going to be administrator for the day, and now you are logged in as root. If you noticed, it says now from Brian at server 01 is now changed to root at server 01. I am logged in as a root user. This is dangerous. That means any command that you will run will actually run as administrator. You can actually do some real damage here. There are commands that can destroy a system really quickly, so you should know what you're doing before you run that. That's also another reason why they put you in as a low-end user, so that you don't end up making a mistake. If you are new to this, be sure to just keep using sudo in front of things just until you're updating stuff. Now to update, I'm just going to do apt update, which is the same thing as apt-get update. And then we're just going to do apt upgrade. Apt upgrade, I can't spell, there we go. If there's more updates, you're going to say yes. It's going to install all the patches and updates. I like to do this right off the bat, and guess what? They give you a progress bar on this one. Hey, Microsoft, why can't you give us a progress bar when you go to do Windows updates? Seriously, why not? You know, anyway. So it goes through. It's going to obviously output everything that it's doing. It's going to output all of the updates and patching. This is normal. This is the way Linux works. It kind of gives you like the updated log as it goes. This is a good thing and a bad thing. For newbies, it's a bad thing because it looks really scary, but it's not scary at all. It's just going running its scripts. It's running its installations. This is normal. And it always hangs at 99%. Takes a little second or two, and it should go through. Anytime it has to recompile the kernel or anything like that, it'll also take a little bit of time. That's the reason why whenever you ever see it going to like generating /boot /init-rd or whatever, that is probably redoing the kernel at this point. Now, it says which services would like to be restarted. Just say okay, let it restart whatever's there. Now, if this is a production machine, you're gonna have, before doing any updates, it's going to restart services. So during those restarted services, you may take certain services down. You should probably do the updates in a timely manner. That is the best time that you can take things down. So don't run that command unless you are planning to take the server down for a little bit. By the way, that restarted those services really quickly. If you noticed, it just rebooted those services, and that's all it does. With Windows, you got to reboot the whole system. You know, that becomes a problem. Now, in Ubuntu, you do need to reboot the whole system when you go to change kernel options and stuff like that. It does need a restart. So it doesn't avoid everything, but even the reboot, let's do a reboot. Reboot command, that's going to reboot the whole system. It's not going to take that long. Windows takes forever to load up. This one, even on this i5 processor, it's still pretty good. You know, it's a pretty fast processor, but, you know, it shouldn't take that long to boot. In fact, actually, if I change the booting settings in the BIOS, that ASRock screen will even go faster. I don't have it on fast boot, so, which I will change before I deliver the system. I think the longest part is waiting for the network to come up. which it just did. And there you go. You're back to the main login screen. You shouldn't see any of that SSH stuff. That's the primary key it makes for you. You should, at this point, create an SSH key, create a new user, and then turn off, authentication through regular, like, username, password, login. It should be used through an SSH key. That's the best way to do it. It's the best, most secure way of doing things. You should also never leave SSH open on the server. And what I mean by that is that you should never have the firewall forwarding port 22. Port 22 is SSH, forwarding towards your server. You should never do that. It is defaultly closed to begin with. The firewall itself on this system is not on by default. I like to use uncomplicated firewall, UFW. UFW is just basically to enable the firewall. This is going to be a whole nother section. I'm going to go into this in another YouTube video about uncomplicated firewall and how to set that up properly. That is something I do set up kind of like right away for the customer. I enable it for certain services, for certain ports to be open. If it's a web server, port 80, port 443, default ports for that stuff should be open. It is a decent firewall. It's much better than Windows firewall. It has a lot more advanced options that you can do. You can do advanced port, you can do a lot of different types of advanced routing, well, not routing, but more advanced blocking and policies that you can set up for rules, where you really can't do that in Windows. You can do it in Windows, but like Windows screws with the Windows firewall constantly and causes a lot of problems. Linux and Ubuntu is not that way. They always ask you if you want to make changes, and they always give the default option to not make any changes. So I like that about that. It is about production more than, just the newest thing. So, all right, guys, this is the end of the video. Let's take a look at the poll. Let's do the end of the video, end of the live stream. Sorry, guys. Let's look at the poll. I did do a poll. Let's end the poll. Not many people answered it. So I asked, are you interested in servers? I said, basically I said yes, no, and what's a server? Do I need a tip? Of course, everyone picks the funny one, and they picked 50% at what's a server and do I need a tip? Do I need to tip? Yeah, well, hopefully you guys understand now what a server is. It's made to serve data. Right now, I didn't really go over anything about serving data, really. It's just about the installation. But I really can't do anything more than this without getting too personal with the system and what it's used for. And also, it's a very long explanation of what you're going to be doing over time. But simple commands like, apt update to update the system. And then you could also type exit to exit out and log out of the system. And it'll bring you back to a black screen. If this is actually being served on a monitor, you may want to turn the monitor off just because this will burn in on the monitor eventually. It does flicker once in a while to try to prevent burn-in, but it does happen once in a while. So you may want to just turn the monitor off. It doesn't really need a monitor to run. You can use PuTTY or other programs from Windows to SSH into this server. To show an example of that, let me just do that really quick. So the IP address is 192.168.3.159. So I'm going to flip over to my Windows system really quickly. Let me put myself up here. And let me open up PuTTY. And I'm going to put in the IP address of 192.168.3.159. I really can't show that other screen because I got other logins there, but 3.159, right? 3.159. Okay. So I'm going to log in. It's going to ask me to accept. I'm going to bring this over. And if you notice that this PuTTY program is asking me to log in right now. So I'm just going to log in as Brian and then put my stupid password in. And now I'm in that system. That's as easy as it is. Now I can run commands directly on, no, you can't see what I'm doing. I can now run commands directly on this system because I'm logged straight into that system. I can now do, apt update, Well, it's probably not going to do that. I have to run sudo su first. I can become root. And I can run apt update. It's doing everything on that server as if I'm directly in it. And this is using SSH. It's only using one port number. It's using port 22, and that's it. It's very simple. Very secure, too. You can also do file transfer. You can transfer files through SSH. There's a lot of things that Linux allows you to do that Windows would never let you do. So this is one of those things. Now, some parts of Windows you can load a Linux operating system underneath it and do some sort of advanced stuff, but that's a lot of extra work. But this is already built in. This is the same command, exit. You can exit out of your regular root user and then exit out of the program, and it closes it back out. Now, that's the basics of Ubuntu and loading it. We will have more tutorials on how to make everything work. Is that data screen able to be enlarged? Sorry. Yeah, Putty's data screen is kind of hard to read. Let me go back in. Sorry guys, I was a little delayed, so I didn't really see that. Let me go back into, what was the IP? 159. So 159 should allow me to do it. Let me bring myself back over here and bring myself over here. Yeah, oh, I see. It's pretty small. Oops. Ugh, I'm a mess today. Let's make this bigger. All right, so we can make this bigger, and then I think we can bring the font up. Oh, Putty is horrible when it comes to this. I don't know if it's just control. No. Huh. There's no font setting, which is weird. Terminal. I'm gonna have to find a way to actually make that bigger. There is a way. Appearance. Oh, it's on 10 point. 16 point? Ah, there we go. A little better. So yeah, you can change the size. It's in the advanced setting. It's weird. I don't know why it's in advanced settings for fonts, but yeah, it's a little better. Slightly better, right? Yeah. When I go to do more tutorials on this, I'm going to show more of, you know, the way things work, etc. Not that I'm on my own folder. Yeah, what am I doing? You know, there's a lot of commands that you can run at this. You know, we're going to go over a lot of extra Ubuntu stuff. I'm going to stick to kind of Ubuntu. It's my favorite distro. I know a lot of people are going to be like, oh, you know, Ubuntu's not serious or whatever. In my opinion, it is. I like this version. I also like Kali. I always say it wrong. Kali's okay too. That one's more advanced and it has a little bit more stuff. But Ubuntu is great. Ubuntu is great. It's just, it's lightweight. It works well. Even the Ubuntu desktop is pretty good, you know, if you want to try that and play around with that. But we'll have other videos about that stuff eventually, because a lot of other people have shown interest that they are looking at different operating systems than just Windows. And I really don't like Mac. So, you know, I mean, I just deal with it. But, you know, it is, it's not any better, I don't think, in my opinion. So, yeah, that's about it for right now. I don't want to continue on any further than this because I can go into topics way longer. But yeah, system's built, BIOS is up to date. We will be doing a memory test before we deliver it. We will be doing a reload of the operating system correctly with, and I say correctly meaning just more stuff that we need to load. And, you know, turning on the firewall, doing the regular stuff that we need to do. And we'll patch it and update it as well. And we'll, of course, close it. You know, we wipe it down. Yeah, till the next one. Stay subscribed, guys. We will have more videos. Apple. Someone put Apple, no, and laughing emoji. Yeah, no apples. No. We don't need worms. We don't want any of that stuff. No, it's fine. I mean, we deal with Mac. It's just I don't prefer it. So go over how to watch tutorials. Oh, the tutorials will be on the regular YouTube channel. So if you're subscribed to the YouTube channel, you'll get all of the updates when we update and patch up and send up some more tutorials on it on Ubuntu. We'll also we're going to go over Ubuntu Server, Ubuntu Desktop. You know, we'll go over a bunch of different types of Ubuntu software that they have and some options that they have available too. So even if you want to have like long-term support and stuff like that, I'll go to the website. I'll show you guys all that stuff later. That, you know, there's all different types of things. So, but for now, I'm going to sign off, and we'll see you in the next one. So stay subscribed, and we will give you more updates. If you don't get updates right away, I also recommend that you turn on the bell, but I don't think the bell does anything. Usually, most of the time, if you're going to YouTube very often, you will probably see us in the subscription feed. So, all right, we'll see you then. Have a great night.